Hooked up now with Rob. We had some technical difficulties there. 2:45, Jay Thomas Show.
Yeah, the technical difficulty was
Town Hall with Senator Kevin Kramer, 305. Yeah, it's a little political today on the program, but a lot of stuff going on. And if you missed my interview with Cass County Finance Director Mike Monfleisure, he handles, of course, the elections in Cass County. That'll be up on our podcast, Kyle, after 5:30, it's usually up?
Right.
Yeah, it'll be up there, the whole interview. Just went over how the whole mail-in, absentee, all that's going to work this time around. On-site polling places as well. So if you missed it, again, after 5:30, that'll be up. You can find the podcast for this program, inform.com. Rob Board, big news today out of the North Dakota Supreme Court, Measure 3. Thank God the court threw it out. And it wasn't because of, as you write, the deceptive way the measure was circulated, and it was very deceptive. They were using our military members to get people's signatures. But the court said what, Rob?
Court said that they didn't circulate the measure completely.
He's not there again?
No, I'm here.
Damn it.
Says he's connected.
I'm connected.
For the love of God. Listeners, I apologize. Dang it. Bear with us here. We're having some difficulties. He says he's connected.
Hello. I'm here. Hello.
Is it going to be one of these afternoons today? Let's try it again.
Hello.
Rob,
I'm
there
here.
You go.
All right.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All right. Did you hear what I said, or did you?
I did. I heard the
Okay.
question. I apologize. The first go around, I forgot what time I was on. This news broke, and I have been busy. So that's completely my fault, Jay. I apologize.
No, don't worry about it.
So what the court said essentially is that it wasn't circulated completely. And so what that means is that in North Dakota, if you're circulating a ballot measure, it has to have every part of it there. It's got to have the page that shows the sponsoring committee. It has to have every page of the law. And the reason behind that, and the state Supreme Court has ruled on this before, granted it was like 100 years ago, but the reason behind that requirement is they want to, if somebody's curious and they want to read it, they want to make sure that they understand what they're reading, right? It's in the same way that you wouldn't sign a contract without reading the whole contract, right? Like, they're not just going to give you the signature page. They got to give you the whole contract. Correct. So that's essentially what this is. If you're going to sign a ballot measure, you got to have the whole thing. What this measure did is it inserted statute into the state constitution. Now, already that's a bad idea because the law is essentially split in two. There's statutory law, and then there's constitutional law. And so what this did is it inserted statutory language into the state constitution, but didn't include that statutory language when it was circulated. Now, maybe people are tempted to say, well, that's a technicality or whatever, but think about it this way. If you put statutory language in the state constitution, it gives the legislature a back door to where they could amend what's in the state constitution by amending that chapter of the of the statute. And thus bypassing all of the requirements we have. Because as it stands now, if the legislature wants to amend the Constitution, that amendment has to be approved by voters. They'd be able to amend the Constitution, at least this section, without. So that was essentially the problem. It was kind of a technical issue. Honestly, I think Measure 3 was headed for defeat anyway. Just looking at Jay, I know you're so tapped into into public sentiment. Just looking at the way people were about this, people were ticked.
They were livid over this. As a matter of fact, right now, listener, excellent decision. I personally witnessed the fraudulent process. A guy in Fleet Farm parking lot was walking around getting signatures. His whole pitch was about getting voting rights for military. Total BS, guys. Nothing about the wacky reforms.
Yeah. It
was really about. Then another gal says she encountered the same thing at Sam's Club. I know I had somebody come up to me. I said, yeah, no, I don't think so, man. Not happening.
So here's the thing. Because those are the two things that really did measure in. Did Measure 3 in. The committee, according to the disclosures, and they're not complete, they wouldn't necessarily include the oral arguments or anything like that. I think it's through like the end of June or something. The disclosures made to the state Supreme Court of spending by the Measure 3 committee, this North Dakota Voters First, they spent $350,000 on the agency that circulated the petition for them. So this group, $350,000 for a group that went out and ticked off hundreds, thousands of North Dakotans, ticked him off by circulating it so deceptively. And then their attorney, Tim Purdy.
I was going to say, how they feeling about their attorney, Tim Purdy? They gave him thousands.
Well-known left-wing guy. His law firm, he, by the way, former U.S. attorney appointed by President Obama, long time involved in Democratic politics in the state.
Yep.
They paid his firm almost $50,000 to draft this thing, and then he was the one who actually did the oral arguments before the state Supreme Court. I don't know if he sent them a bill yet for that or not, but on the disclosure so far, nearly $50,000. So
good Lord.
Between those two things, and each of them did a terrible job. I mean, that's $400,000 spent, Jay, roughly. And they got what for it?
Nothing.
They're not even going to be on the ballot.
Which is good for us, thank God that this thing was. But you're right. I don't think it would have passed, but you never know.
You never know. They had a billionaire. They had a billionaire behind this thing, Jay.
Yeah.
And they had the whole Help Heroes Vote Act. Now, not everybody is. I know you say your show's not about politics, but your audience is very
Sometimes
engaged.
It is, yeah.
Your audience is very engaged. They know what's going on. So so your audience is not necessarily representative, I think, of the larger electorate. People who are busy, who maybe aren't paying as close of attention as people who listen to your show or maybe read my stuff do. So how many of those people could be duped thinking they're going to vote for helping military members vote because they don't have any idea of what went on? I'll tell you, and you think about it this way, too. We don't really have any top-of-the-ticket races. We don't have a Senate race this year. Mm-mm. The governor's race is not, all due respect to Shelley Lenz, the Democratic candidate. I think she's a nice lady, but it's not really a competitive race. No. The House race is not really a competitive race. There was a lot of media that was going to be available for purchase in our state this election cycle, and they had a billionaire behind them. You don't think they could have made a run at it, even with the problems they had? So
that's why I was saying, don't think it would have passed, but who knows, The
court made the right decision on the law. That's the most important thing, and I think we're lucky that we don't have to fight this thing at the ballot. Going forward, two things. These folks are going to try again, and I hope people remember who they are when they do try again, remember what they tried to pull last time. And two, I hope this convinces people that we need reform to the initiated measure process. The legislature put Measure 2 is on the ballot this time around. That makes some changes to that process. Read it, consider it. Even if we reject that, we got to look at this process. It is too open to these billionaires and these deep-pocketed groups who are coming in here to jam their bad ideas into our laws.
Rob, you and I have disagreed on this in the past when it comes to how we do the initiative measures in the state. After this one, I'm starting to kind of see it your way now because this could have been we dodged again. I think North Dakota's voters are smart, but you're right. People see the word veterans, and we possibly dodged a big bullet because this could have caused some real problems in North Dakota.
Really,
so I'm starting to understand the road you're going down with this whole initiated measure
and listen,
process.
In the past, I have said get rid of the initiated measure process. Honestly, if it was King Rob, that's what I'd do. I don't like it. But I understand most people disagree with me. So let's find some common ground.
Yeah.
Let's put in place some reforms. Let's make the process better and protect it so that it is what we intended it to be, which is grassroots activists, a group of citizens getting together and saying, hey, we have an idea. Let's try to. That's what most people think of it. Not some billionaire in Texas says this is the way it ought to be, and I'm going to spread money around to all these states, and I'm going to hire these people to be front groups and attorneys and pay people to collect my signatures for me. I don't think anybody envisioned that when the process went through.
No,
so I don't know. I don't know what reforms we need to put in place. I'm open to ideas, but we need to do something.
A couple emails here. One says North Dakota flirts with disaster, just having ballot-initiated measures around. Direct democracy, mob rule is a very dangerous concept in a constitutional republic. I like initiated measures. But I'm starting to lean more your way, where at least let's take a look at cleaning this up. Tighten it up. Now, Measure 2. So I got from a listener said, I'd like you to discuss what measures are on the ballot this year. Measure 2, that is to clean up the initiated measure process, Rob?
Yeah, and you put me on the spot here, so now I'm going to have to look up to make sure I've got the numbers right. But that was one, put on the measure, and essentially what it would do is if you're going to, it just deals with constitutional amendments.
Okay.
And it says that if you're going to amend the Constitution, if it passes the people, then the legislature gets a whack at it as well. And if the legislature votes no on it, then that no vote has to be overwhelmed by a second vote by the people.
We give it 2 runs as the people.
Right. So
Okay.
unless the legislature says yes. Now, if the legislature says yes, then it just becomes an amendment.
Okay.
But it kind of gives the legislature a veto in the process that can then be overturned by a second vote of the people.
Okay.
Honestly, I listen. The Constitution of our state is such an important document, and I think we have gotten far too cavalier about amending it. It should be a difficult process to amend. Amending the national Constitution is hard. It can take years and years and years to do. Amending our state constitution should be no different. This doesn't at all touch statutory amendments. So if you want to, change the, the statute of, like some of the ones we've had in the past, like the pharmacy measure, stuff like that. That process would stay entirely the same.
Okay.
Measure 2 would only deal with amendments. So after what we've just gone through with Measure 3, I would urge your listeners, give Measure 2 a look. See what you think.
Yeah. Really look. What are the other measures on November ballot?
Well, I'm looking that up right now. Let me.
Yeah, I just with the whole Rona thing going on and everything else, just this stuff's all kind of been put on the, on the sideline, so to speak.
Measure 1 is
one, of course. Yeah,
is the people. It increases the number of individuals who serve on the State Board of Higher Education.
Okay, all right.
Increases it from 8 to 15. You know how much I've written about higher ed.
Yeah.
I'm agnostic on this. I don't know that it's going to change things much.
Yeah, I don't think it will either. So we have 2 measures on the November ballot.
Yeah, that's all it's going to be. Measure 1, Measure 2, both put there by the legislature.
Another email comes in. Why are these measures even allowed on our ballots? We need to keep these out-of-staters from trying to push their views onto our state. This measure, Ducks Unlimited, are a couple of examples. Well, that's why this Measure 2 will help clean up that process somewhat. All right. So big doings for the state of North Dakota. Hey, before I let you rock and roll, how did your interview go with the what was it, the head of the CDC?
Yeah, Dr. Robert Redfield, head of the CDC. Talked to him. He gave an assessment of North Dakota, kind of a mixed bag. He says, we're good on some metrics, not as good on others. Talked about the importance of, and he said, really, he says that's the line we have to walk is balancing between the public policy decisions we have to make about letting businesses go to work, letting schools be open, and protecting the public. A really good interview. It's up right now if people want to go listen to it.
Just go to sayanythingblog.com.
Yeah, it's up there. It's on the forum website. You can subscribe to the blog on your favorite. Plain Talk is the name of the podcast. You can subscribe on your favorite podcasting app or platform.
There you go. Hey, I got Kramer coming on my every other week.
Sure.
Town Hall. You got a question for him? I got nothing for him.
Man, off the top of my head, ask him about the Postal Service stuff. Some of the stuff coming out of the house.
That's on my list. Yeah,
some of the stuff coming out of the house. It was kind of funny. I was just talking to Congressman Armstrong, and there was a press conference yesterday, and the Republicans are saying, part of what's slowing down postal delivery, at least in some of these urban areas, are these riots that are going on.
Well, yeah.
And so Kelly was telling, I guess a CNN reporter asked him and said, well, can you prove that it slowed it down? And Kelly's like,
come on.
They burned down the post office in Minneapolis. I don't know that slowed down this delivery, but I got to think it did.
You would think, yeah.
I don't know.
Portland, what are we on, year 8 now in Portland? I mean,
they've been burning stuff down since Trump was inaugurated.
Yeah. And now Kenosha, Wisconsin, my God, in Kenosha.
Again, I am 100% open to having a debate about law enforcement and reform and all that stuff. But let's start with a debate, not burning stuff down and hurting people that had nothing to do with it.
Before all the information is out,
right.
You look at the video and go. Well, you look at the video and you go, "What the hell was this cop thinking?" But now there's another angle of the video. There's more information coming out. I'm going to bring this up with Kramer. Rob, I think there should be a federal mandate that all uniformed officers must have a body camera. Every single one of them.
I would rather see that come from the state level as a federalist, but I'm with you. I would like to be there. I'd like them all to have cameras. I agree.
Thanks, brother. Thanks, buddy. Senator Kramer next.